Here comes your game week 23. Way too early picks. Lester Quinones in Golden State played 6 minutes last game. First action in a long time. Chris Paul's out. Maybe a role for him? Doubt it. Big shot in the dark here for him if you want to take a chance on that. You got Corey Joseph all the way down to a 5 in Golden State. He could definitely be in play as a 5. Doesn't take much to beat that. In that 6 to 10 range, we're still looking at Davion Mitchell. He's up to 6. If he maintains his role this week, which we'll be watching closely, I think he's in play for the weekend. They have 2 games. They're looking at Philly and at Milwaukee. In Atlanta, Trent Forrest is a guy that I've had my eye on. He seemed to be maybe taking some wing minutes. Now we have Garrison Matthews injured. Last game, Wesley Matthews came in for him. Forrest didn't play. So we're going to see what happens this week with Atlanta. They only have 1 game, and it's against Philly on Wednesday. If Forrest plays, I would say maybe he's a good look for the weekend. If Wesley Matthews plays and can do anything, a 7 still pretty low for him. Jock Landale's been playing a little more. Tari Eason's missed the last 3 games with injury. Landale's minutes go up a little bit when he's out, and only 6. Doesn't take a whole lot. JaVale McGee I highlighted because we're always watching those Sacramento bigs. 7 for an L10 is just nothing. If he can get 12 or 13 minutes, he can put you up 20 points. And Doug McDermott in San Antonio's been out the last 2 games. He's going to be back this week, it looks like. He's not in the injury report. We'll have to watch and see what he does. If he can get out there for his normal 16 minutes, he's not super productive, but he can easily beat a 7 for you. Jordan Hawkins in New Orleans is one of these guys I would describe as a gunner. He just likes to get shots up. So whenever one of the New Orleans guards misses, Alvarado missed last game. Hawkins came through, played 26 minutes, put up some points. You know, he's not a great shooter or anything. He's just a volume player. So 38% from the field, 36 from 3. He's going to come in there and score. His L10 is just too low at 9 right now. Jeff Green in Houston just will pop for a decent game every so often. Right now he's kind of in a lull. He just put up a 24, but before that a 5, an 8, a 6, 5, a 0. Negative points. On the season, he's playing about 16 minutes a night, but his minutes really fluctuate. Some games he plays a ton, some games he doesn't play at all. 54 from the field, 32 from 3. He's just a good vet to have. His L10 it's under 10 now at 9, so he's just a guy I like to throw in where I need a filler. Sasser in Detroit with Cade Cunningham potentially being out for a bit, I think gains a little bit of traction here, hopefully. But Detroit doesn't play their best players most of the time. Talked about Sasser before, but he's 48 from the field, 43 from 3. This guy should be getting more minutes. L10 of 10 is just too low. If he gets up in that 20, 25 minute range, he can put you up 30, 35 points pretty easily. And we saw it early in the year when he was given an opportunity. Played in the 20s and 30s. He was scoring in the 30s pretty often. We'll see if he can get back in a regular rotation. Last guy in the 6 to 10 range I wanted to talk about is Robert Covington. The reason he's interesting is because this 42.5, his best game of the season, just came off the books, dropping him from 14 all the way down to 10. He is a 3-and-D guy. He's shooting 45 from the field, 35 from 3, so not terrible. He's not the player he was a couple years ago, but still a useful player to have. He's a .95 point per minute guy, so he needs in that 15-minute range, and he's capable of 25, 30 points. Interesting guy to stash away. He hasn't played in a while. He hasn't played since December 30th, so been out for a bit. We'll see if he can get back in the rotation when he gets healthy here. With the Bull experiment ending tragically in another injury for Bull, Drew Eubanks has recovered some of those backup center minutes in Phoenix. He was playing about 16 on average for the year. .87's not too bad. L10 of just 11. With some more minutes, he can get back to these scores in the 20s that he's put up this year. He's a decent buy at 11. 1 game for the Suns. It's at Portland. It's another revenge game for Drew Eubanks. So this is a good weekend to have him. Well, I'm going to bypass the 12s and skip right to the 13s because they're a lot more interesting. Asar Thompson is the top-rated 13, but he's always too expensive for me. Isaiah Jackson is super interesting to me. 1.27 points per minute is so good. Like I say all the time, those big men in Indiana playing with Halliburton, it's like a cheat code. He's all the way down to 13. He's been hovering around 19 or 20 most of the year. This is just a lull. I think this is a great place to start him. Kevin Huerter in Sacramento came in a blowout yesterday, put up about 30 points. Hopefully he can regain some of his minutes. If he can, 13 is just way too low for him. With Cade Cunningham potentially out, Killian Hayes, I think, bumps his minutes back into the mid-20s, where he averages about 20. And L10 to 13 is too low for that. Xavier Tillman, I'm not sure what's going on with him. He hasn't been playing regular minutes. He gets some nights, and other nights he barely plays at all. Watch him for right now. If you already own him, I wouldn't sell him right here. It's too low. Najee Marshall, I talk about all the time. 13's really low for him. He's getting 19 minutes on a per-game basis. With everybody healthy, he's still getting somewhere in that 15, 17 range, so he's capable of beating 13 very easily on given nights. Jovic had a bad game in Phoenix. We're going to see what happens this week. I still like him. I think he's got some upside. 13 still really low for a guy that can easily get you in the 30s. Isaiah Joe, but 13 seems really low for him. He's a really good shooter. I think he's going to have a breakout here pretty soon. Moses Moody came in yesterday, played 22 minutes, put up some points. He hadn't played in a while, so we're going to watch his rotation minutes. 13 would be low if he starts getting back in the 20s here. Looney with the Warriors. Do they get back to the Draymond Green, Kevon Looney front court when Green returns? Not sure. Minutes are down, but certainly capable of more than a 14 L10. Marcus Morris put up a 40 with Embiid out the other day. He has a normal role, though, so you don't need Embiid to be out to throw him in an emergency, so he's a good guy to have in your gallery. 14 is pretty low for him. Getting into the 16 to 20 range, let's talk a little bit about Lonnie Walker. 1.07 points per minute, very good. Brooklyn's struggling right now. He's coming back from injury. They're bringing him along slow. We look at his game logs from the year, though. Earlier in the year when he was playing some decent minutes, he was putting up 40s, 30s, a lot of 30s. These numbers are coming off. We're already down to 16. It's going to go lower than that. This might be a great time to buy Lonnie Walker. He's having a great year. He's shooting 48%, 45 from 3. With Brooklyn having its struggles right now, I think he's going to get another crack to play big minutes. However, if we look at their schedule, they don't play. So I picked one up. I think this is going to be a useful pickup in the very near future. Herb Jones we've been talking about for weeks. I'll skip right over him. He's still too low at 18. Naz Reid is down to 20. I think you can play him at this level. 1.03 a minute. Very good. TJ McConnell. Anytime Nembhard is out or Halliburton, 1.25 a minute is super productive. He just put up a 38 for me this last weekend. Dario Saric, talk about him all the time too. 1.09 points a minute. He's got to get more minutes, but he can certainly beat a 20. Skipping over a couple of Brooklyn Nets because they don't have a game this weekend, but Cam Thomas's L10 is going way down. He's going to be 17. It all depends on what happens on Wednesday with these, but 17 right now, really low for him. And then if we look at Dinwiddie, a guy who was in the upper 30s not too long ago, he's at 23 right now. Pretty interesting guys to look into. They're going to be popular plays come next week at this time. All right, moving along to 21 to 25s. Eric Gordon, been out a little bit lately. Still easily can beat a 21 on a given night. Get hot shooting it. Pretty decent standard deviation for him. Benedict Mathurin, Indiana. If Buddy Hield gets dealt, I expect his minutes to increase. Big variance to at 12.3. D'Angelo Russell's a great play right now. He just came back from injury under his season average for his L10. He's another fairly good-sized variance guy. He gets hot or he's not. 1.01 points a minute, though, and only a 23. And then Duncan Robinson on the Heat. He's the best 24. 12 variance is big. That's what you want. And in the 25 category, the best play was RJ Barrett. 34.2 Sorare points since he joined Toronto. 1.09 a minute. I mean, those are way above his numbers from New York. L10's 25, so he's beating that pretty easily. Huge standard deviation because he just had one enormous game and he's had 3 pretty average ones. So somebody to consider, but he's probably a little too expensive for my taste. All right, for the 26 to 30s, Manuel quickly, since the trade to Toronto, much like Barrett, putting up huge numbers. He's got a 37 average, 26 L10, so beating that by a mile. Not much variance, so he's been consistently good. 1.2 a minute, it's amazing. I take a look at him at 26. Kessler for Utah, 1.1 points a minute. Kind of getting into the routine now, finally. Took him a while to get going this year. He's been hurt. 11.5 variance is pretty good, though. He's a guy who blocks a lot of shots. Keegan Murray in Sacramento, big variance, 14.9 a minute. Not spectacular, but okay. Jordan Clarkson in Utah, one of the highest variance players in the league. He's just an all or nothing. He's a gunner. When they're going in, he's great. 27 L10, easily can beat that on a good night. Jonas Valanciunas, we're looking at 28 for an L10. 32 is his average. He's got a standard deviation close to 12, so he's a good play here. I think Brook Lopez is a great play anywhere under 30. Karl Anthony Towns at 29. Anytime you get Karl Anthony Towns under 30. I think that's a great play. 7.5 below his season average. 13.1 for variance. I mean, he's a great high-end play this week. Rudy Gobert, we're looking at 30. Another Wolf, 106, just below his average too. Decent variance on him. Another solid play, not as great as Towns, but it's good. All right, and a few plays above 30, and I'll get out of here for the afternoon. Kyle Kuzma and Mikal Bridges, both at 31. I think they're both good plays this week. I actually kind of prefer Kuzma right now. Both good variants, though. Certainly beat 31 real easily. Either of those guys can go for 50 plus. Zion is down to 33, beating his L10. Pretty decent variance. I like the first two better. Fred VanVleet all the way down to 36. Pretty good variance on him. Bam Adebayo, 38. So he's beating his L10 by quite a bit. Nice variance on him. I think he's a great play this week. If you know me, you know I love Anthony Simons. Just brings out that flamethrower. 63 for me over the weekend. Won a reward. So he's at 38, beating his L10 a little bit. Just a big variance guy. Like him a lot. Booker hasn't been great this year, and his variance is pretty small, but he is ahead of his L10 right now. So you could certainly play him this weekend if you have one. And then De'Aaron Fox, I mean, if he put up like a 4 yesterday, which is just insane for him. Like, this guy's been so consistently great all year. Dropped him all the way down to 43. If you've got a Fox, this is your week to play him before he goes back up, I guess. Big variance at 16. And then if you have a Jokic, it's still a good week to play Jokic. It's always a good week to play Jokic. Thanks for watching. This is going to wrap up Game Week, what is it, 23? Damn, they all run together. All right, well, I'll have a supplemental video if anything happens. Let you know what I have for updates, if anybody gets hurt, watching the minutes over the course of the week. On Friday, hopefully we get some of these guys in our lineups. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.